What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for Anime Uproar, and the twists and turns in the MHA manga just keep getting more and more bizarre. Shigaraki is becoming even more unhinged to the point that his inner demons are gaining a physical form. Miruko is the fiercest and bravest hero ever. And Bakugou is about to be brought back from the dead with a brand new ultimate power, so let's get into it. You guys know how this works. Drop a quick like and comment right now to help us out with that YouTube algorithm. It only takes a second, but it means a lot. And of course, if you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. People often tell me that they miss my videos even when they're subscribed, and it's because you have to go through the trouble of subscribing, hitting the bell, and then selecting that option that says all. If you don't follow all of those steps, you're still gonna miss a ton of our videos even if you are subscribed. It's just how YouTube works. Finally, this video will contain MHA manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. The previous chapter left off on that completely insane twist in which Edgeshot randomly showed up, revealed that he was part of the same knitting club as Best Jeanist in high school, and then proclaimed that he would sacrifice his life in order to enter Bakugou's body and become his new heart. This was probably the single biggest WTF moment in all of MHA, and most of us were expecting a lot more answers and explanations in the latest chapter of the story. And, well, let's just talk about what happened. We start off with a shot of Edgeshot using his quirk Foldabody, along with a reminder about how his quirk works. Edgeshot can flatten and stretch his body at will, and thanks to rigorous training over many years, he is able to stretch his body so thin that it looks like a spider web. This allows Edgeshot to literally enter people's bodies and manipulate them from the inside at incredible speeds. And we saw this ability in action when he entered Kurogiri's body and instantly knocked him out from the inside during the Hideout raid arc. So, when you really think about it, the idea of Edgeshot being able to perform emergency medical procedures from the inside does make sense. He is able to enter people's bodies instantly and make modifications to the bodies of those people. So with a lot of practice and training, it's not too far-fetched to think that Edgeshot could even perform emergency surgery on the battlefield. But this is something that should have been established earlier. If Edgeshot had been established as a renowned medical ninja at an earlier point in the story, kind of like Tsunade from Naruto, then him being able to literally bring characters back to life wouldn't seem just like plot armor for Bakugou. And because Horikoshi didn't lay the groundwork for this earlier, we get what is probably the silliest and stupidest panel in all of MHA. Edgeshot brings out a little bubble and says that laundry hero Washu had given him this special bubble at some point in the past, and Edgeshot will now use that bubble to cleanse Bakugou's body before performing his procedure. Now, this does make some sense from a medical perspective because you need to keep everything clean during surgery in order to avoid infection and some other type of contamination. So if Edgeshot had been established as a medical ninja who carries some sort of first aid kit along with him at all times, then we could understand that maybe he keeps such bubbles inside a special section of that first aid kit for emergency uses such as this one. But since no such thing has been established, we are now left wondering why in the world Edgeshot keeps a little bubble with him during battles, and where he keeps this bubble in the first place. I mean, it's a bubble, and even though it's a special bubble, are we really supposed to believe that Edgeshot can engage in a brutal fight against Shigaraki with that bubble somewhere on his person without the bubble ever popping? Like, what? Anyway, after the bubble incident, Edgeshot proceeds to make his body so thin that it can serve as a surgical tool. But stretching his body to that extreme degree drains Edgeshot's life force and can kill him in the process. That is the whole sacrifice aspect that we talked about in the previous chapter. However, Edgeshot feels that he has no choice, because despite Jeanist's best efforts to sew up Bakugou's wounds, Bakugou's heart is still bleeding and badly damaged. And his lungs are also wounded, so without immediate surgical intervention, he will die and Jeanist won't be able to save him. Using his quirk, Edgeshot is able to mend Bakugou's organs from the inside and the outside, and he can even give Bakugou CPR from inside his body, which drastically increases the chances that Bakugou could be successfully revived. Edgeshot wants Miruko and the other heroes to keep fighting because Shigaraki is mortal and he can bleed as well. They just have to hold out a little bit longer until Bakugou is brought back to life. Because apparently Bakugou is the strongest and most important hero in existence, so saving him should be everyone's priority, even at the cost of their own lives. Meanwhile, Shigaraki is surprised to see Genist and Edgeshot still desperately trying to help Bakugou. He already destroyed Bakugou earlier, so why are these people still trying to save him? The thought of Bakugou being saved after Shigaraki believed that he had already destroyed him enrages Shigaraki, who feels that the only way to stop his incessant itching is to keep destroying everything. There is literally no amount of therapy that can help this man, although I'm sure that Deku will try. Shigaraki then tries lunging at Bakugou and the others, but the fierce Miruko stops him with yet another furious attack. She ends up losing her other arm in the process, and I mean, no wonder her body is falling apart when she has to carry this entire freaking chapter all on her own. Seriously though, I am legitimately annoyed now by how Horikoshi keeps treating Miruko. Why does she have to take on all these injuries while the number 3 and 4 strongest pro heroes are both just sitting there and risking their lives to save one hero student? Instead of, oh, I don't know, trying to take Shigaraki down and save literally everyone else. Maybe I'm just upset about my bunny waifu, but let me know what you guys think about how this all went down in the comments below. Kudos to Miruko though, she is an absolute hero legend, and I think she's now even surpassed Mereoleona when it comes to being the top badass female character in modern shonen. Eventually, Mirio also joins the fight to hold back Shigaraki, and that's about the time that Shigaraki notices something. He seems to be actually taking on damage and accumulating it, which surprises him because that's not supposed to be happening to him with his new perfect body. Shigaraki then seems to hint at the fact that Bakugou's attacks may have hurt him earlier, and that is why he is now accumulating damage. I wasn't 100% clear on this point, and if that was the case, then it might kind of explain why the heroes are so desperate to save Bakugou. If his new howitzer impact cluster was able to deal real damage to Shigaraki, then maybe we can justify the fact that 3 of the top 5 pro heroes are currently risking their lives just to save him. But none of this was ever made clear to us, and even if this was the case, we have no idea if the heroes are even aware of it. And yes, in case you need a reminder, Genist, Edgeshot, and Miruko are the current 3rd, 4th, and 5th strongest pro heroes. And all 3 of them are currently risking everything just for Bakugou. Horikoshi, please make it make sense. Miruko once again laughs at death and declares that she will give it her all because she is not going to die with any regrets. She uses a move called Luna Rush to actually land some hits on Shigaraki despite her severe injuries, and Shigaraki is in disbelief. Even though he thought that he had broken the heroes and that they had no chance of defeating him, they are still fighting against all odds. And they are risking their lives to help each other, even when it seems like there is no hope of success. This makes Shigaraki remember his own family and childhood, and how no one was there to help him when he needed it. Even before he was a broken man, his family didn't support him, and after everything that happened and he became broken, no one was there to help him out except for All For One. Everyone just pretended not to see him, and this is what fueled his endless rage and desire for destruction. In that moment, something seems to snap inside of Shigaraki, and some of his hand mutations begin to take the form of his dead family members. The final page refers to these clones of Shigaraki's family as a newly unleashed power that is threatening the heroes. So we can assume that these clones will be fighting against the heroes alongside Shigaraki. And since the heroes are already barely surviving even with a single Shigaraki, the only way that this makes sense is if the heroes end up getting a massive reinforcement very soon. One possibility is that Deku will finally arrive on the scene after all of this time, but another possibility is that Bakugou will be successfully brought back to life. Now, one would assume that even if his organs start working again, Bakugou will still be too injured to fight. However, if Edgeshot's procedure and sacrifice are able to fundamentally change Bakugou's body from within, then perhaps he will awaken with a newfound power, a new quirk altogether, and this will allow him to get back into the fight. And that is what we need to talk about now. The possibility that Edgeshot and Bakugou will somehow fuse, and that this will lead to Bakugou's quirk Explosion fusing with Edgeshot's quirk Foldabody. This will then create a new super quirk that will allow Bakugou to actually put up a fight against Shigaraki until Deku arrives. Now at first glance, Explosion and Foldabody don't seem particularly compatible. Explosion is an emitter type quirk and Foldabody is a transformation type quirk, and they function on a completely different basis. Bakugou's quirk allows him to excrete sweat into his palms that has the properties of nitroglycerin, and he then uses that nitroglycerin to create explosions. Edgeshot's quirk allows him to stretch his body and control its thinness while also moving at incredible speeds. Clearly these are two very different quirks with extremely different effects, but Bakugou's latest super move, Howitzer Impact Cluster, may provide some clues to what a fusion between these two quirks might look like. As chapter 362 revealed, the cluster upgrade that Bakugou devised came with a side effect that he wasn't aware of. The act of saving up sweat into launchable beads put a huge burden on the glands of his palms. Eventually, the beads of nitroglycerin that were stored up could no longer remain in the palms, and so they began leaking all over his body. This created small explosions throughout Bakugou's body, which gave him even more speed. But this also had the effect of causing immense pain to Bakugou, and eventually it damaged his body and organs. But if Bakugou's entire body were to become flexible and extendable as a result of some sort of fusion with Foldabody, then in theory he would be able to protect his organs while still creating explosions all over his body, and to make himself faster and more effective in battle. Basically, Bakugou may be able to turn his body into an exploding Beyblade that moves with immense speed while launching hundreds of explosions all around it. At the same time, Bakugou will be able to keep all of his vital organs safe by stretching them out of harm's way. So he will essentially become a swirling, exploding inferno that cannot be stopped until it connects with its target, and that target is of course Shigaraki. Don't get me wrong, I realize this is a stretch, but it is one possible way that Explosion and Foldabody could fuse in a way that makes Bakugou a key player in the fight once again. What do you guys think? Could Bakugou's quirk fuse with Edgeshot's quirk in order to create a new super quirk? If so, what would that quirk look like? Do you like my exploding Beyblade idea, or do you have some other ideas of your own? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear some great concepts for this fusion as we await the next chapter. As always, if you enjoyed this video, leave a quick like. Right now, it helps me out a lot. And if you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, remember it's completely free and it is a huge help to us here on the channel. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Anime Uproar. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.